So, welcome to this curiosity call where we'll be exploring permaculture and cultural emergence and how it has benefited me and how it might benefit you and what's happening at Applewood this year. So just to start with, I'm feeling grateful today for getting out into the land. Had a little window of sunshine, and I went out and pruned the wineberry, which was one of those winter jobs that I've been procrastinating about for ages. And then within 20 minutes, really managed to make a big dent about that. So I was really pleased and grateful to get out, and I'm really grateful because I've been the wineberries that I picked last summer have been in the freezer, so I've been eating wineberries all through the winter. If you don't know wineberries, Japanese wineberries, they're little tiny berries that are like raspberries and really sweet and delicious, but they take hours to pick because you have to pick them all individually and you get really sticky fingers. But yeah, so I'm grateful for wineberries and grateful to myself for getting over a bit of winter inertia and getting out there and cutting them back. And I'm grateful. So Emma and Barbara, who I collaborate with, here with me today. And if anyone wants to put some where they're calling in from and gratitude in the chat, that's always nice to hear. And yeah, and Emma, do you want to share some gratitude and say where you are, and then Barbara?
Hi everybody, I'm Emma Gilbert. I'm calling in from Herefordshire in the UK, just a few miles up the road from Looby, in the borderlands between Wales and Shropshire. And today I am very grateful for my brief visits out. I actually spent this morning tying metal sheets on top of stacks of wood that we'd harvested on our land in the co-op where I live. And it was raining and I would never have gone out. And actually it didn't rain that much. And I got to see lots of nature and birds, and the sheets got. And so I'm really grateful that I had to go out and do it because I would have hidden indoors and not had time outside. So yeah, really grateful to get a bit of time outside as well in between the rain. And I'll pass on to you, Barbara. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. I'm calling in from Croatia, central Croatia, and I'm very grateful for the beautiful weather today. I gardened all afternoon, and the sun came out a bit, and it is so nice. I did all these jobs that were I wanted to do them before, but it was like cold, a layer of snow, and today it was like yes. So I ticked off all these things from my list, which was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So it seems like there's the hint of spring energy happening with us, just occasionally arising, and it's a great time to be thinking of the seeds that we're going to plant this year. So literal seeds in the ground, but also the seeds of learning and the seeds of what we want to grow in our lives, and um, to design that in. There's a little social media post that goes round of like, I think there's going to be flowers this year, and it's like, how do you know? It's because I'm planting the seeds of flowers. And another way of saying that, which Barbara reminded me of, was Buckminster Fuller's quote of the best way to predict the future is to design it. And so it's this time of year where we're really thinking of those the physical seeds that we might be planting, but also the metaphorical seeds as well. It's lovely to hear people calling in. Where you're calling in from, that's great. And I know that welcome to anyone that's watching this recording as well. I know not everyone could be here live, but thank you for joining. And I'm curious about what your curiosities are, like what called you here today. And yeah, if you want to put that in the chat, that would be great. Oh, so day's just beginning over in the States. Yeah, Lovely. Um, yes, yes. So yeah, appreciating the opportunity to gather with like-minded and like-hearted people from around the world. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, I thought I'd start with my like story, the beginnings of where I came into permaculture and how it's supported me in my life. So, back in 1999, I was doing my university degree in human sciences, and I was doing an essay, and I can't for the life of me remember what I was writing about, but someone said, oh, you need to go and speak to so and so about permaculture. And that led me on to doing my permaculture design course. And the permaculture design course is internationally recognized course. It runs over 72 hours, and that can be done in a 2 week thing, or online, as we're offering this year, or over weekends, which is how I did it back in 1999. And yeah, and thanks, Linda, about the circles of concern. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. And so I did this design permaculture design course over weekends at the same time as I was doing the finals of my degree. And the finals of my degree, it was very mainstream education in the university. It was very much like work your way up the ladder, and then at a certain point, when you're high enough, you get listened to. And it was a very much of a contrast then when I was going to my permaculture design course, where it was very much a horizontal learning, collaborative. It was like we're all invited to contribute and share ideas and contributions, and it was like, okay, yes, this is exciting to learn like this. And it was so much fun as well. That was really one of the things that really stayed with me, was how much fun it was. And then we were invited at the end to say, well, what would be your long-term goals and visions, and what would you like to happen? Not what you think would happen or setting intentions in that way, but what would you like to happen? And I was like, well, this has been so much fun. I would like to teach permaculture. That would be fun, wouldn't it? And the universe listened and put steps in my path that enabled me to follow that path, and go to a meeting, and then go on a course, and then need to get some apprenticing journey. So it opened up for me, and made me realize as well how powerful it is to share our visioning, to share what we want to happen in the world, even if we don't think it's possible. And that's one of the cultural emergence principles. There's allowing for the possibility of the seemingly impossible, and to put that vision out there, even if we don't know how we will get there. And I'm going to share a picture here. Hopefully you can see this picture of like connecting with a bigger vision of possibility for ourselves and humanity. I don't know, is that what you're seeing? It might. Okay, well, hopefully that is what you saw there. And and so my journey, my journey went from learning about permaculture and then starting to teach it. And what stuck with me was something that one of my permaculture teachers said to me, which was, we already have all the skills and all the technology we need and all the resources we need for widespread earth repair. They already exist. We don't need to go searching for magic solutions. They already exist. And it's like, okay, well, if they already exist, why are they not being used? And that answer really is about people. whether it's about our own individual work ethics, work patterns, work culture. It's about our relationship dynamics. It's about what happens between our neighbours. It's about what happens in our communities, in international politics, all the way through. It's about people. And there was a quote that I read, and I had it to hand, yeah. Here it is, from John Lu, and it says here, function is an evolutionary outcome. So if an ecosystem is functioning, that's because of evolution. Dysfunction is cultural. So if an ecosystem is degraded in any way or dysfunctional, it's because of culture. And that's, you see that in a way of like a community. A community doesn't break down because an apple tree is planted in the wrong place or doesn't grow well. Communities break down because of the politics and the dynamics between the people. So that led me into my journey with people care, and to again I did the same activity of sharing my long-term goals and visions, and saying, oh, I'd really like to write a book on people care one day. And then it was like, okay, well, one day, but I actually, when is that one day going to come that I feel like I'm a perfect person? So I needed to reframe and realize that I would learn more people care skills in the process. And that led me to writing People and Permaculture, which was actually the first book globally that really took the permaculture principles and design and translated it to people care systems. And this came out in 2012 and was really the start of the birthing of the social permaculture movement. And I know, I don't know if I've said your name right here, because social permaculture and cultural emergence feels really important and often missing, including in my work of land work, in my world of land work. And I think, it's absolutely true that it is often the missing part of the earth care. We have these amazing earth care projects, but then somehow the volunteers aren't valued, or there's difficulties coming to decision making. And I realized actually with myself and my partner here at Applewood, the key limit, the base limit for anything we want to do here is our ability to design together. We often think our key limits are time or money, but often it's confidence or skills or belief in it, or ability to decision make together. So there's many other limits that are needed to be overcome for successful designing, and we can that's what we can learn together, is how to successfully design. And this is where we use the design web. Is one of the frameworks. It's the framework I created while writing People and Permaculture, which it is one of the ways in which we can empower ourselves to make good decisions, to involve people, and to be strategic in our designing. So that's part of my journey with permaculture. And I was going to invite Barbara now. Barbara is collaborating both with myself on the Cultural Emergence Collective, which we'll talk more about, and also with my partner Chris on the online PDC, on the permaculture design course. So Barbara, a question that I'm curious about with you is, like, how did you come to permaculture, and what has it given you?
Well, do you have a week or two? How did I get to permaculture? Well, actually, so I am originally from the Netherlands. And when we were looking in Croatia for land to buy, there was this permaculturist who told me about permaculture, and I thought it was mind blowing. So yeah, of course you work with the land and you work with nature, not against, and you don't force your will upon it, but you do what works. Um, it sounded also logical. So I thought, man, that's interesting. And then I read lots of books and watched lots of videos. And then finally, I took PDC, and that totally leveled up my knowledge about permaculture. First, it was like this, oh, nice ideas. But yeah, the PDC that I took with also, I think she's also your teacher, Looby, Rosemary Morrow, one of the grandmothers of permaculture. Yeah, that was so inspiring. And there also my interest in designing leveled up. And there Luby came in because my husband gave me the book People in Permaculture, and I saw this design web and thought, oh yeah, let's try it out. And yeah, that grew into and now recently I finished my permaculture diploma. So yeah, that's how much I like designing. The, and what Luby just said about limits in your thinking or in your yeah. So my husband and I were thinking, oh yeah, we have all this land around us and not so many people and lots of old people that are dying or people that move out go. Actually, they go the opposite way. They go to the Netherlands, to the city, and we come from the city, came to the countryside. So we thought, how about growing a village? So that was one of my designs, and it took a while before it started rolling, but it is rolling now. We have already two families who who are in the process of moving here, and the house opposite of us is now sold. So yeah, design gives a direction and helps you to make the magic happen. So yeah, that's why I love permaculture design so much and Luby's design web. Thank you for coming up
Mm.
with that.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. Yeah, it's great. It's my new book is called Design Adventures, and that's what we're the courses that take you through the design web, and it does really feel like an adventure, doesn't it, when you're going on a design because you don't you don't necessarily know where you're starting off. And this is particularly true, I think, for people-based design. So when you're doing a land-based design, you plant an apple tree and it's going to give you apples. When you do a people-based design, you don't know what will happen. You might start thinking, oh, I'm designing for my health and well-being, and then you start walking in your neighborhood and you meet people, and then you end up starting a whole community project, or something completely different emerges from the design, which is what makes it an adventure. And I think that's so true with the people-based designs, even more so than land-based designs. And yeah, I wanted to show you an image which I think a couple of you have referred to in the chat there, and you've seen on social media. Hopefully, can you see the circles of concern and influence there? Great. And this is from these pictures are from my book. I think it's from Cultural Emergence, and but the original idea was from Stephen Covey, and I really well, I think it's really resonating with people at the moment. I've put it on social media, and everyone's just like, "Oh, it's so neat to hear this at this time." So the picture we have on the left is where you spend your time in your circle of concern, and you're thinking, you're worrying about climate change and international politics, and all the multitude of things that are happening on the planet at the moment that we don't necessarily have any control about, and they might impact us greatly, and we might be very worried about them, but we don't have any control over them. And when we spend our time in our circle of concern, our circle of influence actually shrinks because our time and energy is going on that worrying. And so when we're worrying, we don't have the capacity to and the resources to put our energies into the positive things we can do. And a friend of mine has a phrase said, worrying is the wrong use of the imagination. And we're doing that worrying on a small level of like, oh, my partner's should have been home half an hour ago. He's not home now. It must mean that there's been a car crash. That's catastrophizing. But we could use our imagination and be like, maybe he stopped to buy me some flowers and chocolates. We could use our imagination in that way. And then the big thing is that we're using our collective imagination then as well on all the dystopian ways that the world could go in. So in contrast, then we on the right hand side we have when we have spending our time in our circle of influence. And when we spend our time in our circle of influence grows. So we put our energies in there, and we grow ourselves, we learn, we create, we design, we share, and all of those things help us grow as a person and help us grow in our presence in the world, so that people want to come and learn from us and connect with us and be empowered with us and have the tools. So these tools of cultural emergence and a permaculture help us to stay in our circle of influence. Many people say that they came to permaculture through an activist background, and they found that in activism they were always against something, and with permaculture they were for something. So they were acting in their circle of influence and growing their circle of influence. And so that is really, I think, one of the essence of permaculture and cultural emergence and these tools is that they help us to be in our circle of influence and then ripple out from there and grow. And when we're then being in our collective circle of influence, then that can grow even more. So the more we connect and the more we create networks and movements of change, the more our collective circle of influence grows. Any reflections on that, Barbara? Or anyone else would like to share any reflections? Yeah, Alexandra, would you like to share a reflection? Is that your...
Yeah, I want to share, Luby, that I saw that on the internet on Facebook because I've been following you, I think, for a couple of years. And I shared it with some of my colleagues. So I'm a psychiatrist and I work in CAMS in child mental health. And I found that so relevant for where I was and where a lot of my colleagues are. And they found it just brilliant because we get so stuck with the frustration and all the things that are not working in the system, which in this case is almost like not people, is almost like the problem seems the system and it's just impossible to navigate. But I just started a day today, from a day yesterday being very frustrated, and I started the day with that image and that intention and actually went well. From that, and another colleague who's actually teaching social workers on trauma and some heavy stuff actually found that also very useful, that image, and she's going to use it in her teaching. So I just wanted to mention because it feels so relevant in so many different areas.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. And you said that, like, with the image, that you start the day with the image in your mind, and I think to take that one step further is to start with the feeling of it in your body,
Yeah.
and to really get familiar with that. Okay, I'm in my circle of influence. That means I'm in my present in moment. I'm acting with what I can do, and just feeling that expansiveness of that compared with the contraction of, oh my God, the world, and to recognize that. And that's part of my practice, is to realize when I'm going out of my circle of influence, when I'm losing that energy, and when the energy is dissipating and I'm contracting. So both visual and embodied as well. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Yeah, and I think that, and then the next step is that collective, the collective circle of influence, because it yeah, as an individual we still feel quite small, but it's like, how do we connect with each other so that we're growing our collective circle of influence? And that I think is where the real power is, and the real potential for change. And when we start learning that, how to connect and how to collaborate and how to co-create with each other, then we'll really grow. And it's that the image that probably a lot of you have seen, of like there's the big fish and the little fish, but when all the little fish come together, like in the shape of the big fish, they're much bigger. And that's that's part of that. How do we connect and become a system that is highly functioning and can make change? Yeah, thank you. Barbara, did you have a...
Yeah, this is why I love the Cultural Emergence Toolkit so much, because it gives us tools to ripple out this culture of how we do want to be together, how we don't have to just adjust to the culture that is around us. We can choose how we want to be together and become more aware of how we speak, how we connect. So yeah, that's it. Just wanted to appreciate the Cultural Emergence Toolkit.
Which is a perfect segue there, Barbara. Thank you. As if we planned it, but we hadn't. Into the Cultural Emergence Toolkit, which so carrying on with my journey through permaculture, and so I'd written People in Permaculture, and then what I hoped when I wrote People in Permaculture was that it would immediately dispel the myth that permaculture is just about land-based designing and something to use in your gardens and farms. And it didn't dispel the myth. It did grow more awareness of the need of people care and more of the tools, but it wasn't immediately dispelling the myth. And then alongside that, John Young from the States we came into collaboration, and he is a deep nature connection specialist. He's been doing that for decades and very much focused on cultural repair. And so we decided to come into collaboration with each other, and we said, well, let's you've got it's H. Shields' model of deep nature connection, and I've got the design web, but what would happen if we bring those things together and something else emerges and we grow into a new space? And that new space became the Cultural Emergence Toolkit, which has the nature connection in it. It has the design web in it, and then it has this new element of cultural awareness and systems thinking as well. And I'm going to show you another picture here of my working definition of culture. And culture is a word that's completely familiar to all of us, but yet if we tried to pin it down what it is, we'd be fumbling around for words. So this is my working definition. So culture is a complex web of seen and unseen patterns of thinking, behaving, and interacting. I'll just say that one more time to let it land with us. Culture is a complex web of seen and unseen patterns of thinking, behaving, and interacting. And so that is a complex web of how we interact with other people, how we interact with the land. So this brings us back to permaculture and how we interact with the land becomes our agricultural systems and our gardening systems. And it's also our personal culture. So I wanted to bring that back, and where you were saying there, Barbara, of like we have our own personal culture that then ripples out. And so this is part of our being in our circle of influence is what is my personal culture? What is my personal web of patterns that I can explore, that I can weed out these negative conditionings, that are messages and paradigms that I have, or habits that I have, and how can I water the healthy habits that I have. And so that is tending to my own personal culture, which is very much acting within my circle of influence, that then can grow that out into the world. And through that then new cultures emerge and arise. And I know someone here in the chat, let me find let's see where it was. I can't find it now, but saying about how do we what happens. Oh, here it is. How can it be applied in institutions that are meant to care for people but are heavily politicized, in which change feels impossible? And that's very much about how do we, like, we're in this bigger culture that also is part of the bigger culture of politics, and how do we as individuals change that system? And it is how can we be in there for like rippling out our personal culture and questioning the culture of that system. And it is a big job, because we are nested systems. So your workplace, as you say, is then influenced by the politics, international politics, by intergenerational paradigms. So we are in the work of a lifetime here, of many lifetimes, and it is going to be a work of a lifetime. So yeah, Emma, you've been working with me with Cultural Emergence, doing the Cultural Emergence courses. I'm curious about what are the benefits you've had, and what's your vision for where Cultural Emergence might go over the next year or two or beyond?
Oh, great question. Well, for how it's been for me, I've done the 3 courses with Looby, focusing on the different phases of of cultural emergence, on my mind's gone blank, move and invigorate, nourish and empower, and challenge and awaken.
Challenge.
Yeah, I got there in the end. And each of those phases have a different feeling for what you bring into my life. It has had a different feeling. So when I was first activated by Culture Emergence, I'm like, oh, all these things, all these strands of things, thinking about culture, thinking about living in community. I live in a housing co-op, being a community activist, being and working with people, and just kind of swimming in it, not really thinking of it from outside, and the theoretical concepts that go around it, or the principles of how to nourish that and support it to grow more, weren't there. And then when I picked up Cultural Emergence and listened to Looby and learned and brought that in, that's really helped support me to help support those things I'm doing. So being more intentioned in how I communicate with people, being more intentional about how I encourage others to shine their own gifts, to how to bring them out into the world, and support others to bring their own leadership into the world. And things like living in our housing co-op, I was just, when you were reflecting about different ways of being and cultures and those seen and unseen patterns of being and relating, and seeing how our co-op that I live in, housing co-op, has shaped around those, and me swimming in that has brought cultural emergence in, sometimes overtly, sometimes kind of stealth cultural emergence, but just by modeling those behaviors and practices that we want, that make a peaceful culture, that make things more regenerative and connective, and actually push against those ingrown systems that we don't want to live in, that really works together and comes in. And I think for me the design element has been amazing as well, using the design web. And my biggest revelation from that was discovering when I create design, I'm in the middle of it. It's not something that is other than me, that's being done to me. I'm co-creating it with the design and me, and I'm there, part of it. And that how I look after myself, how I practice self-care, how I work, all those different patterns are actually a really integral part to any design, and anything that's successful is going to come. And that's so much, to have that realization gives you so much power, instead of going, well, why isn't this working? Why can't I get this thing done? Well, it's me that's part of that process, so I need to support myself. So I opened a whole other window of self-care and getting involved in other projects, and seeing how that comes into the coming year, being part of the Cultural Emergence Collective and really looking at that in practice and how we're taking those principles out into the world. I really see that there's many more people out there who are just, I don't know, they're kind of like people waiting for a drink of cold water in a desert, for those tools, for those principles, for those actions, for those ways of being, for someone that Newbie has already done, put them in a framework where they can actually go, oh, that's what I needed. That's what I need. Oh, that's why I feel like that. Oh, that's how I'm going to do that. Now we're talking about the reframe of the circles of concern and influence, and just that reframe there, that one act of seeing that on the internet, seeing that the lady was saying before, and taking that to work today and changing the way from that spiral down to the spiral up of how your day is going. I can really see how that can be more out in the world. And so by having, working with more people and with people in the collective going out and sharing it wider, it really gives an opportunity to really expand that, because it just brings so much more to your life and gives you all the things you were looking for in the first place. And then you're like, here you go, here's the gift you needed to help you feel, that you can make those changes and expand that circle of influence in the world. So thank you, Looby.
Thank you, Emma. That's great. And I'm going to share with people, because you mentioned the courses there and the phases. So I thought I'd share this mandala. I really believe in the non-linear nature of courses. Can you see the course mandala? Is that the right thing that's showing? Great. Okay. And so I wanted to create learning pathways where people could build upon what they've already learned and go away and integrate it into their lives and come back. So we've got these 3 courses that are based on the 3 phases that Emma mentioned there. So we have the challenge and awaken phase, which is very much exploring what do we mean by culture and systems, and starting to believe that change is possible and see the toolkit. And that's the challenge and awaken phase, and the activating cultural emergence, or the ACE course. And then we have, which is available online as well as in person. And then we have the Peace course, which is the Peace, Empowerment and Cultural Emergence course, which is about the deep nature connection and connecting to ourselves and connecting with other people, and really bringing that sense of peace into our bodies and into our daily lives. And this we do a peace course, a deep dive, a whole week here at Applewood, which is just beautiful. And we joke that it's like being here for a month, because we go into a really timeless space. And I do that with a friend and colleague, collaborator Leona Johnson, and lots of singing and time around the fire. And then we also do it as an online version. We'll do it again next year. I think it's not going to fit into my calendar this year, but we do an online version of that. And then we have the design adventures, which we've talked about the design web here. And there's going to be multiple design adventures through the year online with different themes. So we're currently designing our year ahead, and then there'll be designing your spring cleaning and your creativity. And yeah, I've got lots of ideas for that, and a new book coming out, Design Adventures, this year. So those are the three phases of cultural emergence, with the courses around that, and that's then people can go on and do the cultural emergence leadership training and be able to then share that out in their communities and grow the network. So those are and then also the other thing that we've got, which is really exciting this year, is the Cultural Emergence Collective. So this is for people that are really wanting to expand and join a ongoing community of practice. And yeah, but Barbara or Emma, would you? There's the three of us that are space holding for the collective. Would either of you like to? Actually, before you say anything about it, so I'd like to share the cultural emergence vision and mission, because I think that really then opens up to why the collective is really important. So the cultural emergence vision is hiding from me, is to accelerate global cultural transformation towards a peaceful, connected world, to bring us into humanitary and planetary alignment for a positive, regenerative future. And that's a vision that many of us share. Many of us in the world share that vision of that peaceful world that we long for and want to work towards. And when we have a vision, it's then important to think about our mission. And again, this comes back into this circle of influence. It's like, well, I have this big vision, but what can I do now that will help move myself and the world to this bigger vision? And this is the cultural emergence mission then. So our mission is to create a profoundly effective toolkit to challenge and awaken, move and invigorate, nourish and empower individuals, groups and communities, to bring us into a state of fertile cultural emergence. And you'll recognise those three phases again, those challenge and awaken, move and invigorate, nourish and empower. And when we set this this mission, this was back in 2016. And then it's like we've created this toolkit, and I've written a book about it, and then we've got a card deck about it. So it's like, the toolkit is here. What's the next mission then? We've kind of completed that mission. The toolkit is here. It's really effective. We know that from our own experience and from the many people around the world that have been using the toolkit. We know it works. And so then the next mission was, okay, now how can we create networks of people using the toolkit, which is, again, what we're saying about this growing our collective circles of influence. How can we collectively grow our collective wisdom of how to use the toolkit and grow our presence and reputation and in the world, and our connections between each other. And that was where the collective, the idea for the collective came out of. So Emma or Barbara, would you like to say a bit more about the collective?
I'll talk a bit about it. So when we were creating the collective, we came together last autumn and we were using the design web to create a design. So we started the very core practice of making this collective being a collaborative process. And the collective isn't a course. It really is. It's a community of practice. It's where people who are using cultural emergence are sharing how they're using it and sharing how they're doing that. And by sharing our stories, sharing our reflections on other people's stories, we can support people to do that more. If you're kind of in your own room doing cultural emergence all on your own, not talking to anyone about it, you're never going to grow your skills or activate it. And actually being in that conversation, being in that dialogue really energizes what you're doing. And often when we're in courses, at the end of it ends with having like lots of exciting calls, or you're in there in person, and a lot of the extra bonus to the information you're learning are those connections, those conversations that you have with people. And so we really wanted to bring that energy of co-creation and collaboration into a space, and using that online, because people come to the cultural emergent courses, especially the online ones, from all over the world, and being able to do that on a regular basis. So one of the things that's part of the collective is actually being able to have calls, connection calls, where we actually get to talk to each other and share what we're up to, explore new parts of it. Also using the seed deck, which I know they will probably tell you more about shortly, but which contains all the principles and practices of cultural emergence. I have mine here. I'm going to flash it up there, and being able to explore how we're using each of those ones. So I've just picked up this one: creative expression, show up and see what happens, embrace many forms of creativity, celebrate your unique way of expressing yourself. And we'll be exploring those together in there periodically, and looking at how we're bringing creative expression into our work. And there's so many juicy different things to explore about being in nature, how you connect to yourself, how you connect to people, how you work together, designing. So there's all of those are coming into the collective. And we're also, if we're going to be change makers out there in the world, if we're going to bring those peaceful cultures, we often sometimes say, oh, I need an idea. So we're hoping that those spaces will be people who are working on the same thing, creating guilds. So you might be a forest school leader, or I think I'm involved with the Mother Nature Project, and I'm going to create one there for like people who are leading Mother Nature circles, because there's a crossover between the two. So showing how it's going with our circles, how we're using cultural emergence in those. So really having those spaces and opportunities to share and connect. And I think we have so little sometimes out in our world, or we're rushing from one thing to another, to really have a space where you can go and go, oh, what's going on in the collective? Who's that here? Who's carrying on? So yeah, it's really good. And we just want to grow that cultural emergence movement worldwide. And as Libby was saying, being able to support people to ripple it out and use it in real time in their everyday life as a way to support them. So yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying it so far.
Thank you, Emma. Barbara, do you have anything to share?
I think Emma said it all. Yeah. Thanks, Emma.
Yeah. It's good fun. And we've just what really strikes me about this year is that where we are now with cultural emergence and where we're going to be in a year's time are two very different places. And I feel like there's going to be quantum leaps happening through the year, and the collective is part of it. My new book, Design Adventures, and then we're going to be translating the seed deck. So there's lots of things that are happening, and it's quite an exciting time to be involved. So what I wanted to we've had kind of quite a lot of talking now, and I was going to just put on some music and show you some nice pictures of Applewood just for a few minutes. I need to do my screen share. Okay, so this is these pictures are from the from last summer, where of course we'll see Barbara in these pictures. So this was us doing some collaborative designing, a group doing collaborative designing. This is our yurt and shepherd's hut, and you can see there's some gorgeous landscapes here. This is Grandmother Oak, who is the guardian of the land, I would say. In our orchard there, we've got about 70 apple trees and a few pear trees. So So it's just a wonderful sanctuary here for people. This is myself and Delvin. This is Baloo, our dog. So there's very much the more than human world is part of our time, and just it's a place where there's lots of fun and laughter. And this is Emma and Grace who took the other photos here, and there's time for reflection and journaling. And there's Barbara and Helena outside the nest here. Time for cups of tea and just connecting with people. So the group using the seed deck in the marquee. So one of our key learning spaces is in this marquee, which is in the orchard. So we're outside, inside learning spaces. And it's really a magical space. Someone called it like the magic hat. Is a better name for it than the marquee. So connecting with the apple trees. This is just outside the marquee, where it's deep nature connection is just an embedded part of the experience of an Applewood course. Casper the cat, they like to join in, and Milky, who doesn't like to join in actually. This is my partner Chris. This is in our part of the forest garden that he's been creating. So it's like permaculture demonstration systems. Really, where it's a learning and demonstration site. So this is him giving a tour of the more apple trees that he's planted in our forest gardening. So he does forest gardening courses and the online PDC and the teach training. And food is always a big part of it. Emma often cooks for us, and making the food beautiful and colourful. Oops, that's an important one. The time of the day that I like the most is when we're sat around the fire in the evenings, sharing songs and stories and reflecting on our day. Nature connection. What this is taken from Grandmother Oak, so walking towards there. Here we are, Grandmother Oak. Journeying off towards the marquee there through the orchard. Learning outside. There we are, around in the hub space, where we have our meals and connect. So this is designing together in an interactive, fun way, colourful way. This is international group. So this is Skyjin from Denmark and Darlin, who they're from the Philippines and Canada. So people pilgrimage from around the world to come here. They're both done their diploma with me. This is the group here. And that's that view of Applewood. It's just got such a gorgeous. So this is myself and my partner Chris. Some more designing together. And so this is in the yurt. The kittens are the newest members. They just arrived actually. They're quite a bit bigger now. And there's some more group learning, so sharing our collective wisdom of our top tips for collaborative design and land-based design. Press pause on the music. So just give you a flavour of what the experience here at Applewood is, and it's different for every course that we do here. The ACE and the PEACE have different flavours to them, and the forest gardening and the teach training, but they all have this sense of fun and collaborative learning and nature connection are really deeply embedded into the experience, the magic of Applewood. Yes, Barbara, it really is magical, and I'm so blessed to be here, and I'm here as a result of design. This was part of we found Applewood through doing a design and making that commitment to following this dream. So I'm very blessed to be here, and it for me it really shows the power of designing together. So what I wanted to do now, and I haven't, oh, hold on, and is play. If we were in person, I would be I would be having the seed deck out, and we would all pick a card, but we're not in person. So I'm playing with a way of doing this, which one of my collaborators, Kathy, who helped me with the design of the seed deck, she put together this image. It says it principles in Spanish there, but this is all the principles of cultural emergence, and I wanted us to play with picking a card and picking an image that responds to you, with the question of how can this support you in your life. So would anyone like to pick an image? You probably can't see the numbers, but you could pick an image if you would like to call out an image that's calling to you. And then I've got the real cards, I can read it out. So an image that's calling you of something that's resonating with you, that might support you in your life. Anyone like to
There's some
pick
numbers
one?
coming up in the chat.
Oh, are there? Okay, great. You can see numbers. Great.
Oh,
Okay.
I sent one direct to me. Number 22. They got there first.
Okay. Okay, now this is where I need my glasses because I can't see the numbers. 22. Okay, which is many minds are better than one. Here it is. Great. So we have many minds are better than one. Create solutions for everyone. Gain a diversity of perspectives and honour the beginner's mind. Lovely. Does that resonate with you? And we also have 25, which is right on the top here, which is leave space for emergence, invite spontaneity, release the need for fullness. So any reflections on how either of those might support you? Or Emma or Barbara, how might these?
I'll what it kind of gave me, the message that you read, it was about trust, about maybe standing back. I know it's not what you read, but is how the message arrived. And it was about like not wanting everything to be there perfect. That's what kind of the fullness felt. And it was more kind of putting the intention and the imagination, at play, and then staying back and allowing that emergence. Does that make sense with the card?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. It's a kind, yeah, that's sort of what I heard then was about allowing and not be needing to be in control, but allowing something to unfold. And what I um, loved also about what you said is how the message arrives. And what I think is really magic about the cards is it's like the wisdom of the cards meets the wisdom of the person, and then something new emerges, and it happens every time. So it's like yeah, how that the message arrives, and then that mixes with your wisdom, and then something resonates out back from that. So yeah, that was lovely. Was it the many minds? Which card? Oh, was it? No, it was here. The leave space for emergence. That was the one you chose. Are there any more?
Thank
Shall
you.
I get? Yeah, Robin, have you? Do you want to share something?
Oh yeah,
See your hand.
hi. It, can you hear me?
We can. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, first I just wanted to make a quick comment on the emergence. That last phrase, um, uh, I think it was let go of the need for fullness.
yeah,
That just really landed with me and resonated with my sort of spiritual worldview. It I've never heard that before, Luby, and it's wonderful. It's about making room in ourselves so that all that is divine, divinity, whatever it is um, that we believe in, can flow through us. Uh, Not being so caught up with what we're creating, but letting emergence happen through us. That's how it landed for me. And it was like a little light bulb going on. Thank you for that. But I was attracted to that bird in the middle, I think it's 16. And I've always
yeah. And
loved,
I will.
yeah, without all the elaboration, it still has the feeling and sense of a phoenix to me. And
Mm,
Phoenix has always been something important to me, the ability to rise again. And I've been living in Phoenix for 20 years. So that's always fun. But thank you. I'd love to hear more if you have 2 minutes, 2 seconds to say more about that one.
yes, yes. Well, yeah. So I love the just to reflect on your reflections for the leave space for emergence. I love that idea that when we have that space, I mean, you said there it was kind of filled with and I can't remember your words, but it's like the leaving space for that spiritual connection there, and just that the bigger visions of our lives and the bigger sense of creation and the more than human world is really powerful, whatever terminology we like to use for that bigger presence of life. And that leaving that space allows for that. That's beautiful. And let's go for the card you chose, which is presence in the process. Gain clarity about the process. Observe what is actually happening right now. Lose attachment to outcomes and soar on life's thermals. Yeah, do you have any reflections on that card then that you chose, Robin?
Well, it's entirely different from the Phoenix energy. So I think I'm going to have to contemplate that for some reason. I don't know why. It felt like a beautifully simplified Phoenix. But you tell me the bit about soaring again, Ruby, if you don't mind. Can you repeat that one?
Sure. It's soar on life's thermals.
I think that might be the connection. That's really resonating. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's a
Mm,
time for soaring. If we don't
yes.
soar, we may not get off the ground at this point. So, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And and that sense of there's a sense of effortlessness. The idea of soaring on life's thermals, isn't there? Of just like that life will carry us,
Oh,
that we don't
yes.
need to put the full effort in. It's yeah,
Beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. Mm. Lovely. Anyone else want to choose a card? I could let me put it back up for us. Any other numbers or pictures that you want to choose?
I was
Yeah.
drawn. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I said I was drawn also to number 19. That was also calling me with number 25. Is the
Okay.
yeah, this the last second on the
Yes.
middle row.
It's beauty in completion. Here we go. Let me stop the share for a moment. Great. So this one is the card you picked, which is beauty in completion. The end makes sense of the beginning. Energy is released in completion. A new whole comes into being. It's an interesting card to get in January at the beginning of things, where we're starting off, but then there's a sense of completion of the last year, and then as we move into spring, also there's a sense of completion beginnings, isn't there? Well, I mean, I also like this card, and there's another principle there, work to completion, and they really help me in my day-to-day effectiveness as well, of just not leaving 10 half-done emails open and just being like, okay, complete before doing the next thing, and completing on small levels before moving on to bigger things. But yeah, what was what resonated with you with that card?
I don't know. I was just called by the image, and actually, it's interesting. The message is it doesn't arrive quite clearly as the other one, but what you said feels quite relevant. And thank you, who put it, Emma, for putting it in the chat. Yeah, so I can kind of sit with it.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes they aren't immediately obvious, and then it becomes more obvious. Or maybe sometimes they're a lesson for us to learn.
Yeah, that's
So
how this feels.
so yeah, number 14 is I will find that one for you. It's this one. I do like this image. Well, I did the images myself, so I do like all of them, but this one, as I do enjoy. This card is Respond to Life. Sense shifting energies, dance and flow, pay attention to what is real. If you want to share any reflections on that, and if it's how it's landed with you,
Thank
but you
you.
don't have to.
Yeah, it feels really apt. Yeah, I really appreciate that respond to what is, and that can be a bit of a surrender, I feel, and a bit of a kind of radical acceptance piece for me. Yeah, I don't really know what other words to share other than that it feels really on point. And something about really like tuning in to what really is alive and what life might be kind of curious about of me or of the collective, you know, and like trying to have my hand on the pulse of that. That feels really true. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And how do we say your name?
It's Ez.
Ez. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Okay, it's easy when you know how. As yeah, thank you. I think there was a theme there that kind of arose in the beginning there with the leave space for emergence and like letting go, and that seems that like it's continued there with this responding to life and that yeah, as you say, acceptance. So yeah, yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Barbara, did you have a card you were about to pick?
Yeah, I was hesitating to say because I picked that one as well. Well, I couldn't read the number, so I looked it up in my own deck, and I thought, oh yeah,
Yes.
this is a great card because it brings me very much into the here and now, and helps me to accept all aspects of life, not only the things that I want or that I like, or oh, the sun is shining. Oh yeah, now I'm happy. No, there's yeah, there are more aspects of life that are there to be accepted or embraced. So that's what it does to me, this card.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We're moving into sort of our closing time now. So Emma will put in the chat there some links for you to follow up, and we'll share where the course is and books and things. So yeah, it's great. Thank you, Alexandra, for showing up, and that's fine if you need to go. And yeah, there's something very live, fresh, and exciting in cultural emergence. Thank you. I appreciate that you felt that energy there, and I really, yeah, I feel it as well and feel it growing
Thank you,
very
Luby. Thank you
much.
all. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Yes. So are there any questions people have or reflections on permaculture, cultural emergence, what's happening? Any questions or reflections before we close our time together?
I guess I do have a question, Luby, of
Yeah.
I can put video on, it's just that I'm holding it and I find it a bit strange when I'm holding it. I can also try and prop it up. Yeah, something of that kind of earth care piece, marrying people care. Um, and I'm just curious how in earth care I hear there's the kind of um, deep nature connection practices that you weave in. And I'm also curious about the kind of like hands in earth, maybe food growing side of things, if that's there ever in any of the courses or in just like your own personal thread. Because it's a really has been a really alive piece for me in the last 5 years of so much comes up for me in having my hands in the soil and growing food, and so many questions of how we do that in a way that is truly regenerative, not just for the soil, but also for the people ongoingly in a culture that isn't really encouraging that, I feel. Yeah. I don't know if it's too big a question, but it's just something I'm with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I've moved more into cultural emergence on a sort of like sharing level, partly because there's lots of other people sharing the land-based permaculture, and so I'm kind of working to my highest use. And I saw a phrase recently of someone saying I do grow veg, but not brag-worthy veg, and that's kind of where I'm at. I do grow. I do love growing my own food. I love eating food that I've grown. There's just nothing quite like it to go out to the polytunnel at lunchtime and come back with food. And it's so we all have a food culture, and that is influenced by our bigger cultures, and it's really it's such a point of intervention as well to take responsibility for growing our food, as well as it being so nourishing on a personal level. So my partner Chris does more of the courses around food growing. So the online permaculture design course and the forest gardening course would be really, I think, really you'd really enjoy that, to get more stuck into the land-based design. And the online PDC brings together the people and the land and how they merge. And those the three ethics of permaculture are earth care, people care, and fair shares. And we need all of them, and they're all part of our food growing as well, and part of our nature connection. And you're right that there's, when you're out in the land and you've got your hands in the soil and you're listening to the birds and you're taking food home, there's nothing quite so nourishing and empowering for us. I think it is incredibly empowering to be able to grow our own food and have that sense of self-responsibility. So and so with the culture, that I'd say all the toolkits kind of mix and match, and it's where do you want to go. So definitely with the cultural emergence toolkit, we're more involved in the nature connection than the food growing, but building resilience and learning more about food growing is definitely an important part of my journey, and the journey with permaculture as well. So yeah, I think maybe Emma can put a link into the online PDC that I think would be that you'd really love and enjoy.
I was
Yeah,
going to
thanks.
add a reflection from, because I don't come from a specific permaculture background, but I grow organic food and I do vegetables growing and doing that. And I found that the people side of cultural emergence has supported me in my connection to the growing, because the biggest barrier for me in effective growing wasn't being able to make compost or buy seeds or plant in a rotation or do those things. It was getting myself in the garden and doing the job. That was the part. So I was going to share that as part of one of the design courses that Looby did using the design web. This was my own vision for growing tomato seeds. I did a really simple design on planting the tomato seeds and thinking through that process and really reflecting on my part of that process. And actually they were great tomatoes. It meant that I could share them with you because I actually got on with the job in good time. And those ways, and that created more connection. And then she potted the seeds back up and sent some of them back to me because I only got half the job done. I managed to germinate them but not pot them on, and then I got them in the polytunnel, and then I gave some plants back to, and there was this whole kind of additionality that came to it. But it was from wanting both our desire to grow tomatoes. Yeah, I'd say our tomatoes were bragworthy, Libby. I think we could do more bragging about our tomatoes. I'll pop the
I
link for the
couldn't ask you,
PDC.
but other things, yeah, you did better. I think I don't get enough sun here. So I think we're the with both permaculture and cultural emergence, you're learning design skills that then you apply to wherever you want to apply them to, whether it's growing food or working as a social worker or as a therapist or in a community project. Whatever it is that you want to do, you've got those design skills that then you can share it out and follow your visions, quite simply. So that's the key, and the beauty of the design is that it's not saying you learn how to design this one thing. It's like, no, you learn the design skills and the design frameworks and tools that then you can share, and you can use them for whatever you want to do. So bring the design web in into the online PDC, and yeah, so there's a weaving together there. Thanks for your question. Yeah. Any other questions or reflections before we close our time together? A question for Robin. Will we get a copy of the chat? Yeah, I think we could enable that to happen. If we maybe need to save the chat now before we lose it. So okay, so let's move to a closing round. So Barbara, and then Emma, and then me to close. Anything you'd like? Any last thoughts to share as we close?
Yeah, thank you for this inspiring call, Looby. This was really nice. And yeah, this is how I'm used to work with Looby. Always super inspiring. So if you want lots of inspiration and lots of insights and knowledge, then yeah, pick yourself a course. Emma, your turn.
Thank you. I was just drawn back to this card at the beginning that we picked earlier. The presence in the process, gain clarity about the process, and I think it's just great to hear lots of different things that Barbara and Looby and maybe lots have shared, and your reflections on them. And every time I hear people share more about them, I get something else from that. I think, oh yeah, that the respond to life, dance and flow. Oh yes, that's how I was feeling today when I was feeling energized and not energized and moving between those spaces. And yeah, it really brings something to my world being using cultural emergence. And yeah, Looby is a great person to learn with.
Thank you, Emma and Barbara, for that. Yes, and you're great people to collaborate with as well. Thank you. And my closing thoughts. I was trying to find the picture, but it's lost on my computer now. Of there's connecting with a bigger vision of possibility for yourself and humanity, and that for me is the essence of permaculture and of cultural emergence. It's like how there's more that we can do, more than we can do as individuals, and much more we can do collectively. And the more we connect with that vision, the more we bring it alive, the more we use our imaginations, the more we work in our circles of influence, the more that vision comes alive. And that's what we're doing, and that's what we can do, and share it out. And that's what the world needs at the moment. And I feel honoured to be able to work with so many people around the world, and to connect and collaborate, and to really invigorate this global movement for change. And yeah, it's really wonderful. Thank you everyone for showing up, and those that listen to the recording. And I know we've shared lots of things here, and it's like, oh, where do I start? So yeah, there's the Design Your Year Ahead course, which is a really good starting point and access point. Or yeah, if you can come to Applewood, we'd love to meet you in person, but I'm also appreciative of the possibilities for connecting through online courses where people can come in from all over the world. So that's really wonderful. And yeah, certainly getting my books and things. So there's loads of possibilities. There's the free Cultural Emergence Taste course. Yeah, there's loads of possibilities for being engaged, and I just hope that this has sown a seed in your life that you think, yes, I want more of this. I want to water this. I want to develop this. I want to connect more with other people, find out who else is out there using these tools, what can I do with it? What can I vision with it? And so that's really wonderful. And just stay on our mailing list and join in. There'll be other free calls, as well as all these other possibilities of people joining in. So thank you for joining, and see you again online or in person. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Looby. Thank you, Barbara and Emma and everyone else.
Thank you
Yeah,
too.
thank you. Nice to meet you. Yeah, thank you, Linda, for being here, even though you're ill. Do you want to stop recording?